Hey there, fellas. So we've gotten a bunch of requests to measure the temperature inside the combustion chamber, and we are totally down. Right here I've got a couple of EGT sensors. They can measure temperatures up to 1200 degrees Celsius. We've got two of them, and let's stick one of them straight into the combustion chamber and fit the other one to the exhaust manifold, and compare the difference between the readings. Let's do this. So we've stuck an exhaust gas temperature sensor into the combustion chamber of cylinder number 4, and we fitted another sensor to the exhaust manifold runner for that very same cylinder number 4. The reason we fitted the two is that, well, in due time they'll give us a good visual for us to understand what's going on. So everything is ready, and I suggest we start this engine on 92 octane and see what sort of temperature this gets up to. Right, let's start the thing. Regular gasoline. Okay, let's start it and monitor the temperature. For now it's cold, obviously, as we've just started the engine. But let's wait. So check this out. Exhaust gas temperature is starting to increase. Cylinder temperature is still at minimum. Exhaust gases have reached the 300 mark. Nothing so far inside the cylinder. What's interesting is that while the car is standing here idling, the exhaust gas temperature doesn't rise by much. But when you rev the engine, and in order to get the internal temperature to start going up, you need to give it quite a bit of throttle. The revs are at about, at least 2,500 RPM. The exhaust gases have passed the 400 mark. They're just ever so slightly higher. While the internal temperature of the combustion chamber is maybe at about 100 degrees. But let's go for a drive and see what that does to the temperature. Let's go. There we go, almost got up to 400 degrees. The exhaust gas temperature. The internal temperature has risen slightly above the 200 mark. Exhaust gas is 400. Combustion chamber probably somewhere around 210. I guess I'd better drive some more. So as soon as I let off, the temperatures immediately go down. Both exhaust gas and combustion chamber temps. Definitely not seeing any critical readings. When I'm crawling, I can see the internal temp slightly creeping up. Look at it go while I'm crawling. Increasing the revs only gets the EGT to rise. Combustion chamber temp is barely changing. I saw a max reading of 240 inside the combustion chamber, and 420, that would be the exhaust manifold temp. The sensor inside the exhaust manifold is only picking up a... No, it's actually slightly higher than that. I'd say it's about 430. But in the combustion chamber, it won't go above 240. Press it some more and we're up to 250. 260, and look at that, there we go. Yeah, take a look at that. 480. And 280 inside the combustion chamber. You'd think that since the chamber is where the fuel is burning, that's where we'd be seeing extreme temperatures. But no, the exhaust temperatures are in fact much higher. There is an explanation for that, of course, but let me bring the revs up even higher. Let's see what happens. The exhaust gases are getting warmer. Yeah, take a look at that. The exhaust gas temperature is already at 490. As for the combustion chamber, the temperature ceased to increase at about 250 or a bit less. And that's where it's sitting. Yeah, guys, look at that. As soon as I let off the gas, combustion chamber temp drops immediately. And EGT also goes down. And all of that happens in an instant. Those are the results for you. Combustion chamber temp was the highest when I was crawling. I do think that if we were to drive up a steep hill, it would have gotten even higher. But as it is, the most I saw was 280. Exhaust gases were at about 480. So it's a difference of 200 degrees. 95 octane. But what if we up the octane? We've poured in some 95 mid-grade. And what is that going to change? Well, let's start the car and find out. And we see the temperature of the exhaust gases immediately start to rise. It is increasing because the sensor heats up more quickly. And now look at the combustion chamber temp. Yeah, warming up the engine will do that for you. The needle is moving, and once again, when I start bringing the revs up, it ceases to move. Let me rev this up some more. You know what? Doesn't want to continue to increase. 450 on the exhaust, 220 in the chamber, and it just sits there. Okay, let's go for a drive then. Alright, well, exhaust temperatures cease to rise at about 480. But when the engine is under increased load, the combustion chamber temperature increases. Once the load is alleviated, the temperature drops. And fairly quickly. So 95 octane gasoline as opposed to 92 octane, I mean, the values were about the same. Combustion chamber temp got up to 300. It's actually slightly more than before, 280 to 300. The exhaust gas temperature was also slightly higher, at 490 degrees. But then 10 degrees isn't that big of a difference. Let's write all of this down so that we don't forget. And we have some 100 octane. Let's fill in some premium gasoline and do the exact same thing. 100 octane. And let's see what happens. Just like before, the exhaust manifold immediately gets hot. And the combustion chamber temperature is rising. It's at the 250 mark. And then the temperature proceeds to drop. The results are pretty self-explanatory. Okay, let's go for a drive and see what happens. Here we go. Exhaust temp is already at 400. Combustion chamber 200 once again. That's almost 300 in the chamber. Exhaust is slightly over 400. Exhaust gases haven't gotten much hotter on 100 octane. Look at that. Let's give it some beans while it's parked and see what happens. Yeah, so the exhaust manifold has gotten really warm really fast. Combustion chamber temperature is barely increasing at all. Oh, the needle has slowly started moving. There it is creeping. Interesting to see where it'll stop. Okay, so 100 octane, a higher number than we had before. But the temperatures were all about the same on all of the types of gasoline, no matter the octane rating. I mean, there were slight differences of 5 to 7 degrees, but that's also about the margin of error. It's not really a meaningful difference. But the most interesting thing here is, why is the temperature inside the combustion chamber lower than inside the exhaust manifold? It's actually pretty simple. Obviously, you have the compression happening inside the combustion chamber, the combustion process itself, of course, and you'd think that's where you'd have the most heat. But at some point, that mixture which is still burning, it finds its way into the exhaust manifold. The reason that's where EGT sensors are installed is because that's where things get the hottest. That's where we're going to see the highest temperatures. As for the combustion chamber, well, look at it this way. The exhaust valve opens, the gases are pushed out, but then the intake valve allows fresh air into the cylinder. Some fresh gasoline. All of that is nice and cold, and that is going to cool the combustion chamber. If the temperatures would have been getting as high in there as the gases in the exhaust manifold, the aluminum bits would have started melting. Simple as that. And so for this portion of the video, we were using gasoline, and there have been arguments on a certain subject, namely LPG conversions. Apparently, the gas has a higher octane rating and combustion temperature. Hey, nobody's keeping us from hooking up a gas cylinder to see whether the temperature will be higher or lower running on gas. Yeah, let's hook one up and have a look. Gas? So check this out, guys. Here's our LPG system. It is a tried and tested layout. Right, let's fire this thing up. It runs. Let me just do a few adjustments. There we are. I have brought the revs up. And let's see what happens. About the same in the manifold. The sensor starts to heat up fairly quickly. We have worked out that the gases exit the combustion chamber via the exhaust valve and hit it straight on. And so that's the situation. I'm revving the engine and the needle is slowly moving one way or the other. Can we get the temperature up high? Indeed we can, with the exhaust gases anyway. Okay, let's go for a drive and see what happens. Let's go. Okay, the sensor inside the combustion chamber is giving us a reading slightly above 200. We have 400 on the EGT gauge. I'd say it's all about the same. The combustion chamber temp is slightly lower. As for the exhaust gases, I'd say it's about the same as before. Like on the 95 100 octane gasoline, Doesn't make a difference. Okay, so I'm in the garage. Let's try revving it while the car is stationary to see how high the temperatures are gonna go at higher revs while we're running LPG. So I'm holding the engine at a constant rev count, just like I did on gasoline. And amazingly, the temperature is the same as it was on gasoline. That would seem to be the case. Though I would say that the temperature inside the combustion chamber is ever so slightly higher, like by 10 degrees. The exhaust gas temperature is just sitting on that mark without any fluctuation. Slightly higher than on gasoline. Though you'd think it'd be lower on LPG, in reality, it's about the same. This is all pretty interesting, guys. Temperatures were about the same on all types of gasoline. LPG gave us the highest results. And if you know why that is, let us know in the comments. Combustion chamber temp was the lowest, EGT was the highest. And so those are the results. This was a popular request, we made it happen. Let us know why you think this is, and that's all I got for you. Catch you guys later.